Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring something that's honestly a bit mysterious, the hidden, almost invisible evolution of the aging body. Science tells us there can actually be a full 20-year gap between our biological age and our chronological age. Crazy, right? But we're not just looking at biology here. We're going to see how our physical homes and our digital ecosystems absolutely must adapt to protect human dignity. So let's start with something fundamental, yet completely invisible to most of us: human vision.
We usually just think of aging as, well, physically slowing down, losing stamina, right? But have you ever actually paused to wonder how the physical spaces around us look through older eyes? Because it's not just a matter of things getting a little blurry. The entire way light and color interact with the brain goes through a massive, dramatic transformation.
The research on this is fascinating, but pretty stark. As we get older, the transparent lens of our eye actually hardens, it thickens, and it literally turns a yellow-brown color. One expert described it as basically going through life permanently wearing amber-tinted glasses. This biological shift totally wrecks depth perception, makes it super hard to tell subtle shades apart. And cooler colors, like blues, are absorbed completely differently, basically fading into the background.
Part 1. The visual reality and designing with color.
Psychologically, this is a huge deal. Since that aging eye is already filtering the world through a yellowish-brown lens, surrounding an older adult with more browns and grays can subconsciously trigger feelings of hidden despair or just a real drop in vitality. But on the flip side, bringing in blues and greens, those colors that reflect nature, can evoke this profound sense of peace. It actually counters the anxiety that comes with losing your sensory perception.
Think about the contrast between a poorly planned room and an optimized one. A standard, darker room, heavy on brown tones, might look super chic to a 30-year-old, but to a 75-year-old, it can feel confusing and honestly pretty depressing. Contrast that with an optimized interior that perfectly balances those cool, calming blues and greens with just enough warm, energizing elements. That keeps visibility and depth perception sharp without causing any anxiety.
But hey, color isn't the only visual hurdle we're dealing with here. As cataracts become more common, aging eyes get incredibly sensitive to light glare. So, a highly polished, shiny floor, sure, it looks squeaky clean, but to an elderly person, that reflected light can cause momentary blindness and total disorientation. That's why swapping out glossy finishes from matte surfaces is an absolute necessity just to make a room safe to navigate.
Which brings us nicely to part 2, the physical reality, looking at ergonomics and safety.
Seeing the space safely is only step 1. Safely moving through it is step 2. Everyday actions require a total ergonomic rethink. As muscles weaken and bones get fragile, older adults really rely on holding and pulling movements just to sit down or stand up. So, installing grab bars in bathrooms, using anti-slip tape on floors, adding powerful ambient nightlights, these aren't just nice-to-haves, they are lifelines. Even something as simple as the height of a bed or a sofa has to be precisely calibrated to cut down on physical strain. Implementing all these physical and visual changes supports a game-changing concept called aging in place. Basically, it's the ability to stay safe, independent, and comfortable in your own home regardless of age, instead of having to move to an institutional care facility. It's fantastic for psychological well-being, but staying at home obviously has its own hidden risks if the space isn't properly adapted. And we really can't ignore the human element here. The data from our sources is super striking. It shows that married men, especially those with lower education or income, are at a surprisingly high risk for intense emotional and social loneliness when aging at home. So an accessible home isn't just about preventing physical falls, it's about empowering people to safely host visitors, stay connected to their community, and really fight off that devastating isolation. Let's look at part 3, the digital reality and the smart home ecosystem.
We are leaping from purely manual, nostalgic home care right into a bright, revolutionary digital ecosystem. Today's smart homes seamlessly blend wearable tracking devices with advanced LSTM-based sensor networks. And these aren't just invasive cameras. They are smart, predictive systems that actually learn a person's unique daily movement patterns over time. They constantly monitor health, detect falls, and provide virtual voice assistance, all without stepping on an elderly person's cherished independence.
And that leads us to part 4, the future reality, focusing on AI and social robotics.
This is where things get incredibly hopeful. We're moving straight into predictive healthcare using artificial intelligence. Get this,
Deep learning and AI systems have actually reached a mind-blowing 91% diagnostic accuracy in detecting cardiovascular diseases just from available patient data. That means the home ecosystem could potentially flag a heart issue before the person even feels a single symptom.
Furthermore, AI is hitting up to a 90% accuracy rate in diagnosing early signs of dementia. By tracking those tiny, subtle changes in behavior and routine, this tech allows for incredibly early intervention. It's an absolute game changer for improving daytime care centers and helping families plan ahead.
And it even reaches an 85% accuracy rate for staging the severity of knee osteoarthritis. This is radically changing how physical therapy is prescribed. We're moving from generic, one-size-fits-all advice to highly personalized, AI-driven rehab routines that you can literally do right in your living room.
But maybe the most beautiful part of this tech isn't just the cold, hard medical data. Enter social robotics. I'm talking about devices like Paro, a therapeutic robotic seal, and Lovote. These aren't machines built to vacuum your floor. They are companions designed to provide real meaning, spark emotional connection, and actively reduce that deep-seated loneliness we talked about. They significantly boost the psychological well-being of the elderly.
So, bringing it all together, the future of this care ecosystem really rests on four main pillars. We need adaptive sensor networks that learn our unique patterns, social robots that offer emotional connection, unified platforms to make sense of all this smart home and health data, and, absolutely crucially, support systems to protect human caregivers from the immense burnout they face. Technology should support the human element, never replace it.
There's a profound quote from the research that really hits the nail on the head here. Elderly individuals must be the subjects, not the objects of design. Whether we're picking out a matte floor finish or coding an AI health sensor, we literally have to place the elderly individual right at the center of the design process, respecting their autonomy every step of the way.
So I want to leave you with this to ponder. None of us are exempt from the passage of time. As our physical environments become more intelligent and these digital ecosystems merge, how will you adapt your own space and your own mindset to ensure you remain the master of your own future? How do we ensure aging is an era of empowerment rather than decline? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me today.